presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Fox. We are St. Louis.
Overcast skies, but it's warm weather down here in Jupiter, Florida. Spring training 2013. This afternoon, it's the Miami Marlins and the St. Louis Cardinals from Roger Dean Stadium. And with my partner, Al Raboski, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Welcome to Cardinals baseball spring training action. We'll have 150 regular season games, but that's not until we get to Arizona, starting then. At that time, we're not sure who's going to be in the rotation. We hope to have a little more clarity after today.
And we have that opportunity as Shelby Miller, the Cardinals' top pitching prospect, will be on the mound. He's starting, and Joe Kelly will be backing him up. These two are still vying for the fifth spot in the rotation.
And mentioning prospects, we've seen a bunch of them down here in spring training. Who's really stood out for you?
Well, I think it's obvious that Taveras is really very, very close to the big leagues. He has not disappointed anybody with his excellent play. It's really going to be exciting once we see him. And then Wong has been a former #1 draft pick, has really shown that he can handle second base. But I think both these guys aren't going to be here unless we have an injury.
And that could be 2 Toyota keys to the season this year. We're set to go. It's the Miami Marlins and the St. Louis Cardinals. When we come back after this brief timeout, we'll have our opening lineups at our starting pitch.
Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Ford.
the official cars and trucks of the St. Louis Cardinals. By Steak and Shake, just no equal. And by Budweiser, great times are waiting, grab some buds. It'll be an off day tomorrow for St. Louis. Very nice crowd on hand, and welcome back to Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter, Florida, as the Cardinals take on the Miami Marlins. Along with the Mad Hungarian Al Rabaski, I'm Dan McLaughlin. What could be a very long season for the Marlins, and really great anticipation now as we start to turn the page in some of these games and get ready for the Cardinals in that opening series in Arizona.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. These guys have almost reached the point where it's boredom, but next week they can start looking ahead to that start of the season, and it's a very important start for Shelby Miller.
So he'll take them out. The Cardinals and Marlins share this complex, but the Cardinals will serve as the home team today, and Juan Pierre will lead it off. Second tour of duty with the Miami Marlins. He's hitting .316, and he'll play right field today. Then you have Placido Polanco and Stanton, Dobbs, Solano, Brantley, Ruggiano, Echevarria, and Jacob Turner, a St. Louis native. Shelby Miller, as Al told you, it's a big start for him, and also some important innings today at some point for Joe Kelly. Still undecided is that fifth spot in the rotation for St. Louis, Al.
And Joe Kelly will be piggybacking behind Shelby Miller, as both of them are competing for the fifth spot. Shelby, you see the high ERA, but you know what they really want to see him is established down in the strike zone. He really usually has great command to down and away to a right-handed batter, and kind of get a lot of ground balls. He incorporated a lot of breaking pitches now. He's had rated as the best fastball in the Cardinal minor league system.
It's Holiday, Tavares, and Robinson in the outfield. The Cardinals defense today, Matt Carpenter, who's been very good at second base. He'll get the start at third today. Then Pete Cosma, Daniel Descalso, Alan Craig over at first. Aubrey Perez is behind the plate. He was part of the AA Springfield club a year ago that won a championship. He's your catcher today. And Shelby Miller is on the mound, and the Cardinals are getting all kinds of looks at Oscar Tavares this spring. We don't anticipate him breaking camp with the Cardinals, but they've gotten a long look at the plate with Oscar, and also a chance for Oscar to work with the big league club and coaches.
Yeah, Tavares has not had a AAA at bat. You say the same thing about Colton Wong, so it'd be hard without a significant injury to one of the regulars to see those two highly touted guys start at the big league level.
And here is Juan Pierre, the well-traveled Juan Pierre, over 2,100 career hits for the speedster. His time is called as they had to adjust the gate in the outfield wall. Juan hitting .316 this spring, no home runs, and he's driven in 3.
One of the things they're hoping that Juan Pierre and Polanco, and they can cut down on the strikeouts. Marlins last year just struck out almost 1,300 times.
Only hit .244 as a team, and Pierre lines it into right center field for a base hit. So that's how we start the game, a leadoff base hit for Juan Pierre.
The thing that Mike Redmond, the first-year manager for the Marlins, is he wants to see some running game, and he's got a guy that can do that in Juan Pierre.
You mentioned the importance of Pierre in this lineup, and also Polanco. Presumably there'll be 1 and 2 in the lineup, and you've got to get people on base for Giancarlo Stanton.
An excellent number 2 hitter hitting in front of Stanton, but their real problem is trying to find some protection behind him.
Polanco in his 16th major league season. Earlier in camp, he was dealing with an oblique strain. He says he's healthy to go and be ready for this Marlins team for opening day.
Last couple of years, it's been back issues that have kept him out of the lineup.
Last year only played in 90 games for the Phillies. A good test here for Perez, the young catcher, with Pierre at first, who's leaning. Liner into center. Taveras going back, and he makes the catch. Can he double him up? Won't be able to with the speed of Pierre. Nice play by Oscar Taveras. They tell us defensively, very good instincts, and he also is not afraid to play shallow.
On that ball right there, I wasn't sure as he reaches up quite early whether he was trying to deke the runner or not. So you see him take a step in, then he's going back, he lifts the arm up. Sometimes you'll do that knowing you can't catch it, but you're trying to sell it to the base runner. You were asking about Perez and his throwing ability. He came in the game on Saturday, and he threw out 2 runners.
There's Giancarlo Stanton. We also saw the throwing ability of Oscar Taveras and his throw from right field the other day to get a runner at third.
That was yesterday. He also had a pair of hits.
.444 average this spring for Stanton. He participated in the World Baseball Classic for Team USA.
The fire sale over the winter, a lot of the free agent acquisitions from a year ago for the Marlins were all dealt. Stanton was very upset about it. But I'll tell you what the Hall of Famer Tony Perez told me.
A 2-0 pitch to Stanton.
Tony Perez said their owner, Loria, did not ask him, but he would have done the same thing. As the Marlins owner said, we weren't breaking up the 27 Yankees. The team finished last, and they reduced significant payroll, got rid of about $160 million in future contracts.
Here are some of the names that they traded away. Jose Reyes, Mark Burley, the St. Charles native, Josh Johnson, John Buck, who's now with the Mets, Emilio Bonifacio. Their payroll this year will go from a club record $90 million this time last year to around $40 million. Hanley Ramirez, one of the big names they got rid of as well. I think what hurts them is that it's a publicly financed stadium for the most part, and they had been building up to say this is going to be the time that we win, we'll invest in the club. They did it, didn't work out, and then they gutted it. Long look by Shelby Miller. Pierre is running, and a throw to second. Goodbye. Not even close, but it is called a ball on Stanton. It was a late call. Stanton actually waited there. He thought it was a strike.
Just showed you that Perez does possess a very fine throwing arm, very accurate with the throw. And I give a lot of credit to Shelby Miller in the fact that he held that runner, held the ball for a long period of time. That takes the spring out of the legs of a base stealer. But when it went for ball 4, it all went for naught.
So early trouble here for Shelby Miller. Didn't get that call. A walk to Stanton. Runners at first and second for Greg Dobbs. One of the reasons they signed Polanco is for insurance at first. Logan Morrison is hurt there. And also at third, they would have had to play Dobbs every day, and he's been more of a pinch hitter for the Marlins.
A very good pinch hitter. One of the best in the game today. And right before the game, I saw one of the scouts who fits that same bill, John Vanderwall. He was an outstanding pinch hitter late in his career.
Tino Martinez serves as the hitting coach. Talked to Tino before the game down by the cage and said, I'm glad to be back. I missed being around the ballpark. Long look by Miller, the 0-1 pitch. In the air to right center field. Taveras back, and he'll make the catch. Back into second base. Pierre tagging up from second to third. Just to follow up on Oscar Taveras, He is a natural right fielder, but he can play all three spots, and they've wanted to take a longer look at Taveras in center as Pierre tags up here.
Went halfway, but then he saw that the ball's going to stay in the park, should be caught, so he was able to at least advance 90 feet. More ways to score from third base than second.
After the Marlins traded Omar Infante, they picked up Donovan Solano and gave him playing time, and he made the most of it. 295 in 93 games last year, and this spring he's hitting .415, no home runs, and he's driven in 7. Runners at first and third here for Shelby Miller. Shelby Al has had that tag of being the best pitching prospect in the Cardinals system, really from the moment he signed, a first-round pick out of high school back in 2009.
But there's many people that believe that he's really not truly a number one. Maybe you think about a good 3, but let's just let him make the team, and time will tell.
Only speed bump in his career was last year, first half at AAA. Gets a strikeout and pitches out of a jam. His first strikeout of the afternoon. The Marlins strand 2. And the Cardinals coming up in the home half of the first. The strikeout. He's racked up a bunch in the minor leagues for Shelby Miller. No score, the Marlins and the Cardinals. Bottom of the first rolls in here at Roger Dean Stadium. Cardinals will see one of the top prospects for the Marlins today, and Jacob Turner. This lineup brought to you by Fairmount Park, with Descalso leading things off, and then Matt Carpenter and Matt Holliday. Craig, Taveras, Robinson, who's had a sensational spring, Pete Kozma, Perez, and the pitcher Miller. That's brought to you by Fairmount Park. St. Louis native Jacob Turner comes over from Detroit, and he should be in the rotation now this season for Miami.
Yes, he should be. Opening day in spring, he got roughed up by the Cardinals, and that's why the high ERA. Last season, he started in A-ball in the Tigers system, got to the big leagues.
Base hit by Descalso up the middle. Daniel has done nothing to have the Cardinals not look at that stock and say it's pretty high right now with Descalso.
Well, they're thrilled to death that Carpenter has really shown that he can play second base and swing the bat, but Descalso's done nothing to lose the job either.
Matt Carpenter will dig in for the first time. This will look at the Marlins defense. Pierre, Ruggiano, and Stanton in the outfield. Polanco, Echevarria, Solano, and Dobbs along the infield. And Rob Brantley is behind the plate.
With Morrison hurt at first base, this could be their opening day lineup.
Logan Morrison, who is an outfielder, but they look at him being a first baseman this year. He's had 2 knee surgeries the last 2 years and still has not recovered from the second one. So they don't expect him to be ready. Here's Matt Carpenter, who was watching video of his defense today. And I said to Matt, what are you doing? Why are you looking at your defense? He said, I just want to see if I look normal.
He did.
And he looks good.
Involved with a couple double plays that I would say weren't routine plays, and he handled it very well. The remarkable thing is changing positions tough enough, but a lot of times a guy will, his offense will suffer, and you can't say that about Carpenter.
1 ball and 1 strike. Knocked down by the third baseman. Polanco stays with it and makes the play. Polanco owns 3 Gold Gloves in his career.
Like I said, he stayed with it and at least got 1. Could pretty easily have been a double play, so the Cardinals catch a break.
Jacob Turner out of Westminster High School.
Mike Matheny kind of served as his advisor at point of from being an amateur to a professional.
Matt Holliday, a very quiet camp, hitting an even 200, 2 home runs, and 4 RBIs.
Remember last year he was on fire and then got off to the horrible start. Hopefully it'll be reversed.
This will be his 4th full season wearing that Cardinal uniform. Remember, after he had signed the long-term extension to stay in St. Louis, first month and a half, he had put all kinds of pressure on himself. And he admitted that the contract had gotten into his game and trying to justify the numbers. And a phone call from Scott Boras changed that as he said, just relax, play the game. And before it's all said and done, you look up, the numbers say 300 plus, 25 home runs, 100 or more RBIs.
You say the numbers on the back of your bubblegum card don't lie.
Good breaking ball, catches the outside corner. Holliday was frozen on that pitch. First strikeout for Jacob Turner, who had just ridiculous numbers in the minor leagues as far as strikeouts are concerned. Very good curveball there. It's our Hyundai replay.
You said he was fooled a little bit, but I think Matt thought it was out of the strike zone, and the replay did look like it was pretty good.
Craig, a 400 hitter with runners in scoring position a year ago. See his numbers now for spring.
One of the reasons in my mind that he's such a good RBI man is his ability to use the opposite side of the field.
One ball, 1 strike.
If you're, as a hitter, if you're willing to go up the middle to the opposite field, you're going to stay on a lot of pitches. Then if they throw it inside, that pitch you'll just naturally, you'll trust your hands, they can pull it through and you'll pull that pitch. But a lot of the other pitches are out over the plate and you don't pull off them.
Slowly hit to the left side. Polanco gloves and throws on the run. Craig is retired. An inning in the books here from Jupiter. There's no score. Roger Dean Stadium also serves as the spring training home to the Marlins. And don't forget, not too late to get those season tickets for this upcoming year. Half season, 27 game plans, cardinals.com/season for info. 2013 season tickets. Lots of red in the seats here in Jupiter, Florida. Rob Brantley leads it off against Shelby Miller. Pitched out of a jam in the first. Brantley also part of the deal with Detroit. Omar Infante and Anibal Sanchez. Like his bat, he grounds out here. That's out number one. Cardinals right now in a situation they could skip a spot in the rotation in that first week. And then the number 5 spot in the rotation is needed in that first homestand. So you can buy yourself some time there, too.
I know Mike Matheny's going to put a lot of stock in those 16 starts that Joe Kelly had last season.
Cardinals have had 2 pitchers go at least 6 innings. Wainwright and Westbrook, who was very good here yesterday. Oh, what a play down at third by Matt Carpenter. Wow.
Timed that jump perfectly, got to the apex, and brought it down. It's a breaking ball that just kind of sat there, and it was smoked. But there's the good defense. What can he not do?
I don't think we should say it's an experiment anymore with Matt Carpenter at second base. That is going to happen, and probably a lot this season.
No doubt about it.
Echevarria, the shortstop, who's part of the big deal with Toronto. They think that he will win a Gold Glove before it's all said and done. Hit .254 last year for the Blue Jays and .162 this spring.
That's the question. They just don't know if his bat will come around. They're trying to think very positive with him.
Here's a 1-1 pitch. Broken bat into shallow right, and the catch made on the run by Robinson. Defense has been very good behind Shelby Miller early on in this ball game this afternoon. The best of the bunch, this play from Matt Carpenter. Takes an extra base hit away. Bottom of the second rolls in from Roger Dean Stadium. And there's no score. The Marlins and the Cardinals. I know folks at home can't stand it anymore, so they're going to see some more. Cardinals and Marlins. No other team. They don't want to see anybody else. These two stand out, and we'll have it for you at noon Saturday. The Marlins and the Cardinals right here on Fox Sports Midwest.
It's becoming somewhat of a problem here in Florida, particularly on the East Coast. There's just not that many teams. Love to have somebody come back in here, and so you're not playing the Marlins every other day.
Currently 15 teams still training here in Florida. Cardinals and Marlins share this complex. There's talk that Houston may move closer to this area. There's a strike at the knees to Oscar Taveras. He's playing center field today. What's been fun to see is some of the veterans really taking Oscar under their wing and trying to help him along. And one of those, the starting center fielder, John Jay, speaks Spanish, can help translate.
We can remember when Mike Matheny was tutoring a young catcher and really knew that he was going to take his job away from him. But it is part, as Mike said back then, he goes, you know, you can either do it the right way and help a young player, or you can be a jerk and not help out, be a bad teammate. Mike said people took me under my wing, so it was natural. I wanted to help out Molina.
Here's a 1-2. Taveras hits it out to center field. Again, hard hit. He had some tough luck yesterday and lines out to center, Justin Ruggiano. It's funny you mentioned that. I was talking to Mike Matheny about Molina and what he learned. Let's get a look at Taveras hustling out of the box, thinking extra bases, and caught by Ruggiano. Mike said the biggest thing that he taught Molina, at least in his mind, was trying to help him with the mental side. He said physically you don't find a harder worker. He said, but the mental aspect of the game at this level is so tough, which makes a lot of sense.
I remember Dave Duncan put an awful lot of pressure on the catchers. You know, they very, very extensive pregame meetings with the starting pitcher.
High chopper. Echevarria retires Shane Robinson. 2 outs. By the way, Molina and Beltran still alive in the World Baseball Classic, and they'll play for Team Puerto Rico in the championship, and they won't be back until Thursday, so that'll be a total of 18 days they will have missed spring training camp with the Cardinals. That's a lot of time.
A lot of time, and it's good that Yadier knows the Cardinal pitching very well, so he'll catch up very quickly, and Beltran beginning enough playing time to keep his batting eyes sharp.
Pete Kozma, solid spring, 341. 2 homers, 7 RBIs. The WBC was set up to grow the game globally, not just in the United States. Well, in Puerto Rico the other night, 74% as they appeal, and it's a strike, but 74% of the televisions that were on in Puerto Rico were watching the game. And you've watched them play. I mean, they play with great enthusiasm and flair.
And I could almost make a case that you shouldn't play any of the games in the United States. You know, you go to the Caribbean and the rabid fans there, let them see. They're the ones that are enthusiasts. But even when the games were here in Miami, the fans were all Dominican, Puerto Rican. It was the home team, USA team, was really not represented very well in the stands.
This time of year, it's tough to get that casual fan interested when you're with pitch counts. March Madness is here. It's taken a little bit high, but the sporting fan is got a lot of options.
If I'm not mistaken, say like the 1 or 2 of the Asian leagues are like almost like their All-Star break. So they're, you know, playing together the whole time.
Three and two on Kozma.
And as I said yesterday, Terry Collins told me that he had a conversation with Joe Torre, and Joe was shocked at how many of the American players rejected his offer.
And that's a walk to Cosma. Brings in the young catcher Perez. 2-out walk to Pete Cosma, the second base runner for the Cardinals today. Perez is in the 8th spot in this lineup.
Cardinals rated as the #1 farm system in baseball, and there is a good prospect at every position.
Ground ball into deep short. Long throw. Perez running plenty of time. Good day to be at the ballpark. Also a good day to be at the beach. Warm weather here in Florida. No score after 2. Game this season on your computer. That's MLB.tv. You can sign up at Cardinals.com and get all the spring training action, not just here in Jupiter, but throughout Florida and Arizona. MLB.tv.
Dan, how long have we been working together?
16 years. 16 long years, Al.
And you held out on me yesterday. You did not give me all the info yesterday.
Concerning MLB.tv?
Concerning that and belated birthday wishes.
Well, thank you, Al.
Happy birthday, Danny.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Here's Jacob Turner, 6'5", 210 pounds. He throws hard, mid to high 90s when he was coming out of high school.
And one of the Marlin coaches said they haven't seen that velocity yet from him.
There was talk at the end of last year that it started to diminish, and they haven't seen it here in spring. Here's a 2-1 pitch.
In the minor leagues, Shelby Miller struck out 29% of the batters he faced. Set a franchise record in strikeouts. They're at 160 for Memphis.
After the game today, depending how this goes, it'll be interesting to see if John Mozeliak and Mike Matheny get together and make the call on who could be that 5th starter this year. A strikeout, first time through the lineup. That's 2 for Shelby Miller. The Cardinals, even if they wouldn't decide right now, we talked about the fact that you don't need a 5th starter possibly in that first road trip, but also if need be, Al, you still don't feel comfortable after this game, you always can schedule those B games and give those guys innings and see how they throw.
Definitely, but whoever does not, if it's Shelby that, say we go down to Memphis, that's not the worst thing. Go down there, be pitching every 5 days, stay in a rotation, and then you be ready when you are called upon.
And one of the reasons that we have this fifth starter spot wide open, the Cardinals elected not to re-sign Kyle Loesch. They did offer him the one-year deal. If he accepted, he'd be back. Instead, he's a free agent, but he comes with a pick attached to him, and it's not often you see a guy go 16-3 and then have no suitors, as that's popped in the air. Carpenter's got it for out number 2. Again, to this point in spring training, it doesn't look like anybody's going to sign him because there hasn't been a major injury. But as the season goes along, because that draft pick is attached to Kyle Loesch, after the draft of this year, in the middle of the summer, that's no longer the case. He's completely a free agent. And you would think that there'd be some teams there that would want to take a hard look at a guy that won 16 games last year.
A couple things. It's the draft pick, but probably more important, last year they started having the commissioner's office would give each team slotted money. And in the case, if you were to sign Kyle Loesch, you lose the draft pick, but you also lose that money from your total of what that first rounder would say. Remember, Houston, say, got $10 or $11 million to sign their first 10 prospects. Well, the first one is maybe slotted at $3 million, but that's taken off your total. That's what has become very costly. And then I think, too, there's no doubt Kyle Loesch proved that he was one of the best pitchers in the National League during the regular season. But he, once again, did not have a particularly good postseason. And most of the clubs that are going to want to sign a free agent and sign for a lot of money are thinking, well, we're going to get to the postseason.
This is popped up into shallow right center. Tavares calling off his second baseman. Descalso puts it away. Miller's really settled in. There's no score midway through 3. Bottom of the third rolls in at Roger Dean Stadium here in Jupiter, Florida. Reminder that Fox Saturday Baseball will be seen all season long. And the Cardinals and Giants that first weekend in San Francisco returns April 6th. The Cards and San Francisco Giants. That start could be Shelby Miller's that afternoon in San Francisco. Second game of that series. Cardinals then wrap it up on Sunday, head back home for the opener on Monday against the Reds.
But also, you know, with the off day in there, bring back Wainwright, the opening day starter.
1 ball and 1 strike. A high fly ball out to center. Ruggiano back, and he makes the catch. Boy, did that carry. But there was no way that was going to make it to the track.
No, and I think Ruggiano kept on. A couple times he wanted to reach, but yet he kept on going back, stayed with it. Got on the warning track. And I'm sure he's kind of talking to the other outfielders. Be careful. See where the center fielder is playing. And he goes back. Kept on checking himself, see where he is.
This is not a very windy day either. Last couple of afternoons, it's been blowing out. Very breezy. Top of the lineup, and here's Daniel Descalso. Singled for the Cardinals first time up, and he pops out. Put away by Brantley for out number 2. Matt Carpenter at third base today. Grounded out sharply to third first time up. The Cardinals optioned Ryan Jackson, a backup shortstop at this level, also second baseman at AAA. And they've told him the instructions are play other positions outside of shortstop, and this is a rope out to center, and boy, has he been busy. Justin Ruggiano with a couple of fine plays in deep center field. That's the first one there off the bat of Shelby Miller. Another catch moments later. No score. Here in Florida, no score as we move to the top of the fourth. What's on tap brought to you by Budweiser. Again, will come your way Saturday at noon. The Cards and the Marlins. It's our Budweiser What's on Tap. Better have a program because you got to keep track of all the different players that come into these games.
In case of the Marlins, they're regular lineup is kind of a mystery, too.
One guy isn't, and he's at the plate. Giancarlo Stanton.
Probably recognized as having the most pure power in the National League.
93 home runs before the age of 23. Out to deep right center. Taveras is back, and he makes the catch. This is not an easy place to play the outfield because many times this ballpark is very breezy, it's windy, and you can see just the average routine plays can be very tough.
Sometimes you'll have a cloudless sky that it's easy to lose the ball in it, or you have such a gray sky as we have today that it's tough to pick it up. But it's usually the wind is such a unusual factor here. Rarely do you see those flags just limp, usually blowing straight out.
Here's Greg Dobbs, and a breaking ball taken low and away. Well, the Marlins fired Ozzie Guillen. He had 3 years left on his deal. They bring in a new manager, Mike Redmond. Was a backup catcher when he initially broke onto the scene with the Marlins back in 1998. And that was the year after they won the World Series and dismantled.
Fire sale.
He was one of 19 rookies on that team. They lost 108 games. Two balls and one strike.
Now, the first two times they did a fire sale was after they won a world championship. This one was after they went out and tried to buy a championship, and all that money spent didn't. They got them to last place, and so they
gutted the team. Cosma puts it away.
Got the team, but they always come up with some pretty good prospects in those trades.
It's now 10 in a row set down by Shelby Miller. Very efficient after what could have been a very rough first inning of play, but he got out of a jam, and since that time has been very good. Here's Donovan Solano, struck out swinging back in the first. Shelby with a pair of Ks today. So both leadoff men, Marlins and Cardinals, with base hits, and outside of that, not a lot of offense whatsoever. That's been the only hits. On one pitch, make it 0-2.
It's been a almost constant theme all spring training for the Cardinals to not have a lot of offense, but I don't think anybody's overly worried about it. Mike Matheny's been playing a lot of different combinations with Molina and Beltran, two of your bigger bats, and haven't been here.
Strikeout number 3 for Shelby Miller. 2 of those of Donovan Solano. The Musial Harmonica Night is coming up at the ballpark. It's a weekend full of giveaways. It starts with the Stand the Man Harmonica. Milwaukee will be in town, and that'll be a Friday night. They'll honor Stand the Man at the ballpark Friday, April 12th at 7:15. The following night is the alternate jersey giveaway. The gold and platinum glove giveaway on Sunday. So if you're thinking about coming in from out of town, do it that weekend. Great giveaways starting with the Stand the Man Harmonica. Joe Kelly is getting loose for the Cardinals in the pen, and Holiday hits a high towering shot out to deep right. Stanton back, and he takes a home run away. Very casually, too. He had a beat on it right off the initial contact, and Giancarlo Stanton pulls it back in for the out.
It's good to have that frame that he has. What, 6'5", but he looks a lot taller than that. Able to get the glove over the wall. So far, both these pitchers have been able to throw the ball down the middle to where they're hitting to the deep part of the field, and this ballpark's containing them.
Defense on both sides very good. Last inning, Ruggiano in center field with a couple of fine plays. Taveras had to run down a play in center for the Cardinals. There's another one. Craig, a high fly ball out to deep right center field. And this one is over the wall and gone. Opposite field home run. Alan Craig, his second of the spring. And the Cardinals grab the lead. A solo shot, Alan Craig.
I'm sure Alan will go back there, sit next to Holiday and say, well, see, let the big guys hit him. So we talked his last at bat about his ability to drive the ball to the opposite field. Little breaking ball, right center, and over the wall.
Here's Taveras on a hop right side, base hit, finds a hole past the diving Donovan Solano, and it's a one-out base hit for the Cardinals center fielder today.
Hitting well over 300. The thing about Taveras, you can see he's got the extension there. He swings hard, but he makes such, good contact and hits for a high average. A lot of times somebody swings as hard as they do, they're lucky to bat 250.
I compared him to a left-handed Vladimir Guerrero. If it's that pronounced with the swing, and we haven't seen him really chase a lot of balls out of the zone.
They're throwing strikes to him.
Yeah. Runner goes. That's Taveras. He looked in. I don't know if somebody missed a sign there. But he had that stolen easily. It actually slowed up as he was heading to the bag.
That's what I saw too, Dan. And when he realized that Robinson didn't protect him, he's taking off right here. Watch him look in. And then he almost slowed up like he thought it was a foul ball or something.
RBI opportunity now for Shane Robinson. First pitch was a ball. And it's 2 balls and no strikes.
A few years ago, I received a letter after something I said, which I say a lot of things. Yeah, but I talked about Latin players sometimes didn't know how to slide. And I wasn't being derogatory. What I was saying is a lot of the fields that they play on, they don't slide because they're full of broken bottles, rocks.
Here's a ground ball. Up the middle, base hit. Taveras being waved home. He will score. And the Cardinals now lead it 2-0. RBI for Shane Robinson. How about Shane in the spring he's had? He's 1 for 2. Average near 500, and that's his 12th ribby this spring.
3 home runs, 12 RBIs for Shane. I think we all felt that he more than likely would be on the ball club, but he is really showing that great confidence as a hitter. Watch Oquendo send Taveras home.
Off-speed pitch, a strike to Pete Kozma. Walked his first time up. Quietly, Kozma has gone about his business and had a terrific spring.
And Dan, I wasn't overly concerned about him. He hit so well last year, former #1 draft pick, but was really considered almost a bust. John Mozeliak last season said 2 or 3 times they almost took him off the 40-man roster. And then he saved the Cardinals when Furcal went down with his play and his offense. Hit over 300 in, last season. And you just have to believe that going home over the winter, he was going to be so much more relaxed, better prepared to come into spring training and claim that starting job.
Rafael Furcal is done for the season. Tommy John surgery. He was at the ballpark today, actually. All that energy that he brings to the club, but unfortunately we won't see it this year.
And probably hard to get a contract for next season without being a AAA contract and an invite to spring training coming off Tommy John.
0-2 the count on Kozma. Runner goes, and it's hit out of play down that right field line as Joe Kelly be the next pitcher. He continues to throw. Joe has been conditioned as a starter this spring. That's always a tricky thing, how a guy gets loose, how he gets warmed up. For some, such great creatures of habit, it's not the easiest thing to do. But Joe has had time in the bullpen, so that's not foreign to him.
We do not know what the pitch count is for Miller, but in some ways I'm surprised that they would have Joe Kelly warming up now with just 4 innings under the belt.
And Shelby has set down 11 straight. He's mixed in 3 strikeouts. He's walked a man and also gave up a base hit. That was Juan Pierre to start the game. Robinson running, and Kozma just got a piece. I'm with you. I think it's very surprising, but we're not sure about that pitch count.
Yeah, we thought that, sure you'd like to get a pitcher in there, but if you're going to piggyback these two, they really have to, go 4-4, 5-4. Maybe you bring in a Randy Schote to get a left-hander and for one of them, relieve one of them, but you got to stretch them out better.
Was it far-fetched to think that you might only see those 2 today, period?
Correct. And you brought it up earlier, which was a very good point. It's not uncommon for a lot of pitchers to say, I'm not getting enough work here. Let me have a minor league start. Turner actually has pitched in the minor leagues his last 2 appearances.
I believe this is the 3rd time the Cardinals have faced him.
It is the 3rd time. And he made 2 starts down in the minor leagues just to get some work in. So the only team he's faced is the Cardinals.
The 0-2. Some teams in spring training will do that by design if they're going to face a team a lot inside their own division, but I would assume this is not what they wanted to have Jacob see the same team 3 times. You wouldn't think.
It's more likely that you would start him only against American League club and have him be a surprise to a National League team.
1-2 pitch, and Kozma strikes out. Held on to by Brantley. That's the 2nd strikeout for Jacob Turner. Brings in Perez, who grounded out to short his first time up. Runner at first, and now 2 down.
With Perez, who they like, young catcher. Now you could say a Matt Adams, future replacement at first base. Wong at second, Garcia at short. A Wisdom or Kelly at third. Perez behind the plate. Taveras in the outfield. You're starting to see this very productive farm system.
Ty Wigginton has moved to the on-deck circle. Been a tough spring for Ty, who signed a 2-year deal with St. Louis. Come off the bench. The 0-1 pitch. Chopper again to short. Echeverria across the diamond, and Perez is retired, but the Cardinals pick up a home run by Craig and an RBI base hit by Robinson. 2-0. With the Cardinals on the board, they added another. It's 2-0 as we move to the top of the fifth here at Roger Dean Stadium. Al Braboski, Dan McLaughlin with you, and this is Joe Kelly. Third-round pick by the Cardinals in 2009, and he'll piggyback Shelby Miller. A total of just 43 pitches this afternoon for Shelby Miller. 31 of those were strikes, and now it's Kelly.
See? He's down there in the bullpen right now. Trevor Miller didn't get enough work. Didn't subscribe to my theory. You go out and give up a whole bunch of hits, and then you get your 80 pitches in. But here's Joe Kelly, who he and Shelby Miller vying for the fifth spot in the rotation. Two very, very close friends, both ever since they signed. I haven't heard Kelly one time went up to Miller and said, you know, you may be number one, but I'm the better pitcher. And as we said, with only 43 pitches, he needs to throw some more down the bullpen to stretch out. But his time on the mound, that counted, was very good. Leadoff single, a first inning walk, and those were the only two base runners he saw all day.
43 pitches, 3 strikeouts, 1 walk, that base hit, no runs. He exits having set down the last 11. Here's Brantley, Ruggiano, Echevarria. No activity for the Marlins in their bullpen, trying to stretch out Jacob Turner. Machine Gun Kelly.
Except he's not related to him.
That's correct. One thing we've learned, Joe has a great sense of humor, and part of the UC Riverside Baseball Media Guide, when he was there, he said, yeah, I'm a distant relative of Machine Gun Kelly. So that stuck with him, and then he had to tell everybody last year, no, it's not true. Slicing towards a line, Holiday back and makes the catch. "16 starts, 24 appearances last year for Joe Kelly."
Well, he opened up some eyes. He had good velocity. Averaged fastball for a starter was one of the tops in the National League. But this year he's been a little tentative. Last year he just attacked the strike zone. They'd like to see him do that again. He's pitching behind in the count a lot this year.
For whatever reason, that control has been an issue this spring.
And it's something we didn't worry about a year ago.
1-0 pitch. One thing Joe Kelly did was when the Cardinals had injuries, he filled in and gave the Cardinals a chance to win those games that he started. I know we don't like to hear the term quality start, but he did that. Out to right, Robinson back, and it's off the wall. Ruggiano on his way to second base. Standing up with a one-out double.
Only the second hit for the Marlins this afternoon. Below your neck. You got the light hitting shortstop coming up after Ruggiano's double. Get the ball in the air. You can see these outfielders are really still really kind of tricky out there, the way the wind is knocking some balls down and others are carrying.
One out, runner at second. Echevarria. Ground ball to second. Scalzo may have had a play on Ruggiano, but he gets the sure out.
Pitcher spot coming up, and Turner will take it as he's being stretched out.
Saw Joe Kelly in postseason play. 7 innings. Allowed his first runs in Game 7 of that championship series at San Francisco. The rest of the country was getting a look at these power arms coming out of the bullpen for the Cardinals. Rosenthal was fantastic. Joe Kelly made a name for himself last year.
Joe just sort of seemed like he came out of nowhere. And I think that was part of a wake-up call for Shelby Miller, too.
What's been really disappointing, and I couldn't wait to watch him, was Carlos Martinez, who still has had visa issues. He's not with the club. And out of all these great arms we talk about, just raw talent and being able to bring it, very good breaking ball, they say he might be the best of the bunch.
I used the reference yesterday that Mike Cubbage, who was working for Tampa Bay, told me that of all the pitchers he saw last year, Martinez had the best movement.
Midway through 5, and St. Louis on top by 2 runs. Caught up in what's happened today. It's Alan Craig with a solo shot into right center. Just cleared the wall, and the Cardinals had grabbed the lead 1-0. They added to that. Tavares picked up a base hit, stole a base, and then Shane Robinson would drive him in. Shane Robinson with 12 RBIs this spring. That's all you're scoring. It's a 2-run lead for the Cardinals. Bottom of 5, and also the pitching has been a story for the Cardinals. Shelby Miller going 4 innings today. 1 hit, no runs. He set down 11 straight before he left, and Joe Kelly a scoreless frame to start his afternoon. Reminder that the weekend coming up, we'll face the Milwaukee Brewers the 12th, the 13th, and the 14th. It's got the Stan the Man giveaway, alternate jersey, and Yachty's glove that he's pointing to there. Thumbs up from Yachty. He says, bring it home. Sunday, April 14th, 25,000 fans have a chance to take home that gold and platinum glove awarded to Yachty by Rawlings. Kelly trying to butt his way on. He can run, and he beats it out. Now, we saw Joe Kelly last year as a pinch runner a couple of times, and I asked him earlier in spring, how much trouble did you receive about the times that you fell down trying to go down to first? Round second was another one. He said, Lance Berkman was all over me. He said, but I'm a good guy. I could take it. I know it's part of the game. He said, I'm just happy they asked me because I'm a good enough athlete to do this.
Well, remember, he got his first major league hit down in Miami, and he beat out a ball that went to the shortstop. It ended up being the game-winning run scored on that play.
Now Descalso hits it down the right field line. That's fair. Into the corner. Kelly on his way to third, and he'll stop there. Runners at second and third, and nobody down for the heart of the lineup coming up.
But Kelly was tippy-toeing around the bases, didn't want to fall again.
Initially, the way that he can run, I thought he'd score on this, but you're right. He was tippy-toeing.
Down and in, just drops a bat head, hooks it down into the right field corner. There you see he's like, I don't want to run too hard. I might fall down again. Now he's station to station.
Runners at second and third for Matt Carpenter. He is lined out and grounded out. Twice he's hit the ball hard. He takes a ball low. No activity for the Marlins in their pen. They are stretching, though. One is a base hit into right field. That drops in fair. 1 run in. Here comes Descalso. He will score easily. It's a 4-run lead for the Cardinals. Matt Carpenter, an RBI. RBI total up to 5 for Carpenter. And a 4-run lead for St. Louis.
Matt came to the big leagues with the reputation that he's always hustling. Sees the ball down there. Stanton got a little trouble with it. And easily he gets into scoring position. 2 more Cardinals score. Now we want to see Matt Holliday drive him in.
Last time up, Giancarlo Stanton took a home run away. Wasn't a dramatic catch, rather routine. Just happened to be over the wall.
It was routine because he must have been playing awful deep.
Went back on it very casually and knew how much room he had and made the play. Carpenter, the runner at second base. The 0-1 pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike. Alan Craig on deck. So Holliday is flied out to right and also called out on strikes back in the first. Hits it sharply to short. Carpenter back to the bag at second. Tough luck here for Matt Holliday today.
I think he'll get over it.
You think, Al? I'm not sure.
I think so, Dan.
Craig's home run earlier, his second this spring. He's driven in 8. Cardinals using Craig a little bit in the outfield, and we may see that in regular season play when we break camp, especially if Matt Adams makes this team.
Correct.
You could see Craig move from first and play a corner outfield position.
Adams is get his bat in the lineup where he primarily can only play first base, where Alan Craig will even say, I feel more comfortable in the outfield than I do at first.
2 balls, no strikes. To the backstop it goes, and Carpenter advances to third.
Alan Craig got him on the scoreboard, so breaking ball down and away from him, and watch him get the extension and that powerful leg action, the follow through, that ability to go to the opposite field, and now they're playing the infield in. Alan's eyes got to be lighting up.
3-0 the count. Taveras on deck, infield in.
Good pitcher's pitch there. 3-0, you wouldn't be looking for a pitch like that, but you're going to be ready now for the 3-1 count. You don't have to swing even if it's a strike. Look for it in your zone.
Puts it in play to the right side. Runner will not advance to the plate. Carpenter staying put. And a rare missed opportunity for Alan Craig.
Thinking the same thing. Maybe setting him up for the regular season.
Oscar Taveras, he is listed as the Cardinals' #1 prospect. MLB.com has him as baseball's #3 overall prospect. Lined out to deep center, and he is singled. Cardinals signed him, their Dominican facility, at the age of 16. Took a chance, raw talent, now trying to develop. Slowly hit to the right side, and Turner makes the play. Cardinals, though, add to their lead with 2 runs. 4-0 after 5. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Plaza Tire, the quick change artist. By Bud Light, the sure sign of a good time. Here we go. By Bomarito, where price sells cars. And by Chevy. Visit your local Mid-America Chevy dealer today. Undoubtedly, George Kissel not just missed here with the Cardinals, that's his plaque, but throughout baseball, as he helped so many young prospects that came through the St. Louis system, and whether or not they finished up with the Cardinals, his hands were all over the place in Major League Baseball with guys that he helped out that came through the minor league system of the Cardinals.
George went all the way back to the Branch Rickey days, who invented what we call the farm system today. He was a college graduate, which was rare back in the 30s for someone connected with baseball to have a degree.
A 1-pitch to Juan Pierre. Curveball in there for a strike. Pierre has singled, also tried to bunt his way on back in the third and popped it up to Matt Carpenter. Backs up a step or two with 2 strikes on Pierre, the 0-2. The breaking ball, and that one caught Juan on the foot. Named after Juan Marichal. Juan Pierre.
Played against the Dominican dandy. As you look at this pitch, right off the front foot. Marichal, very classy individual. Very successful insurance agency in the Dominican now.
Team Puerto Rico against the Dominicans for the championship of the World Baseball Classic. 0-2 is slapped on the ground. Cosma up with it. 1 away.
Juan Pierre really doesn't have much power, so a lot of times you want him to hit the ball in the air because his speed is such a great asset. So they wanted the ball up. He did stay on top of it, hit down on the ball, down the ground, but easily was thrown out.
1 out, nobody on for Placido Polanco. It's been a much sharper curveball this time out for Joe Kelly.
I think you're right about that. You seem a little more in control. See if he can hit his spot again away.
He does. It was 2 starts ago Joe Kelly faced the Yankees and didn't go long, and that's when he really struggled with his control. He walked 3 in a couple of innings, and in doing so, lifted early in that game. And they talked about his pace. He was extremely slow. Big gap in left center for Polanco. Stanton on deck in a 1-2. Grounded left side. Carpenter cuts it off. Spins, throws, makes the play. Rule of thumb, get everything you can down there at third.
Right. And shortstop back you up, or if the ball does get by the third baseman, you might still be in position, but you know, Joe Kelly last season, Dan, it just kind of came out of nowhere. He filled in when Garcia was hurt, and you know, he just took the bull by the horns and did an outstanding job. And sometimes the mind is a little powerful. He comes spring training now and knows he's going to be competing and put a little more pressure on himself than he should have. But he looks more like we saw last year at the big league level.
2-0 the count. Giancarlo Stanton. Base hit into center. How many walks and intentional walks will Stanton have by the end of this season?
Oh, that's it. You know, he's got tremendous power, so if you can keep him to a single, you're more than happy to do that. But they got Polanco hitting in front of him, but we saw with Albert, you have to have somebody hitting behind you and in front of you.
Not sure that Greg Dobbs is the intimidator that maybe you're thinking about, Al.
But he is, you know, a veteran that really is a pinch hitting specialist.
9-year vet Hit .285 a year ago.
The other day we saw Brantley hit behind Stanton.
Our buddy Dick Zitzman from Stan the Man Inc. has made his way to Jupiter, Florida. Craig in front of Stanton at first and off the bag with a lefty up. Ground ball right side. Gobbled up there by Descalso. Well, both these pitchers looking good today. Shelby Miller and Joe Kelly. 4-0 St. Louis. Cardinals have out-hit the Marlins 7-3, and they have a lead of 4 runs. Bottom of 6 rolls in the adult replica alternate jersey. You see it right there. It's presented by Lumiere Casino and Hotels. That's a Saturday night. That'll be a historic night for the Cardinals. First time that they will wear those unis. A Saturday night against Milwaukee, and there'll be certain situations, mostly Saturday home dates, that the Cardinals will wear the alternate jersey.
Get a good look at how much bigger the birds are on the bat of the cream-colored jersey.
Well-traveled right-hander Chad Qualls. Jacob Turner done for the afternoon. Numbers on Qualls, and this is a bullpen that had 22 blown saves a year ago. Only 2 teams blew more. Steve Cishek, who is a sidewinder, was 14 of 15 in the save department. He'll be their closer this year. And part of that big transformation last offseason was what they did with Heath Bell. They signed him to a 3-year deal to be the closer. He was awful in the first half, and he was traded away to Arizona. Ground ball hit to short. Echeverria stays down on it, and he makes the play. Robinson retired. He's 1 for 3 with an RBI, and it brings in Pete Kozma.
First saw Qualls when he was with the Houston Astros.
He was a part of that really nasty bullpen that they had for a while. At one point it was Dotel, Wagner, Chad Qualls was out there. Think about really, trying to shorten up the games and how good you can be in the back end, and the Astros were terrific in that regard.
Qualls gives you a lot of motion. You really got to concentrate on the release point.
1 out, nobody on. 0-1 pitch to Kozma. Make it 0-2. Speaking of the Astros, it's going to be a long, long, long year for them.
Well, you're talking about the $40 million payroll for Miami, and the Astros have, what, 25?
Looks to be under 25 million. 0-2 pitch.
Well, Love. Well, you know, now they're in a new league. You kind of said that they'll have a grace period for 1 year, as a lot of their Astros fans are not looking forward to going to the American League, but they're sure they'll be looking forward to seeing some of the American League stars.
1-2 pitch. Hit sharply to short. Echeverria slings it over to first, and it's dropped. Hustling all the way was Pete Kozma. That's been really the only mistake that we've seen either side defensively, because it's been very good pitching and defense on both sides. Oscar Taveras going back on this ball, playing center field. That was early on. This was Shelby Miller on the mound. Carpenter, great grab down at third. And then Ruggiano, 2 plays back in the second inning, which he had to go to deep center. So the air on Craig Dobbs, and here's Perez. Start the runner. They're thinking double play. So Kozma safe at second base in scoring position for Joe Kelly.
Qual's a ground ball specialist, so they got to stay out of the double play, but starting the runner. And go back to when Kozma was running down the first baseline. You said hustling all the way, and once again, because he was hustling, when Dobbs dropped the ball, you know, he's safe. Kind of embarrassing if they would have picked it up and tagged the base and you're out.
Kelly bunted his way on and scored a run back in the 5th inning. No activity in either bullpen. Ground ball, base hit left side. Kozma being waved in. Pierre, not a strong arm, and Pete will score easily to make it 5-0 St. Louis.
Later in the clubhouse, batting average. Kelly 2 for 2 in this game. He's already scored a run. Can he come around in this time? No slider. Gets good wood on it, pulls it through the left side.
So the air by Dobbs allows Kozma to come around and score. Cardinals have done a lot of little things today, too. Starting the runner to avoid the double play. A stolen base earlier. Mike Matheny's talked about trying to be more aggressive this spring, manufacture some offense. Descalso is 2 for 3. He's in the top spot of the lineup. A single, a double, a run scored. Daniel at second base today. He's also played shortstop this week and third base. Cardinals have the off day tomorrow. Port St. Lucie on Thursday, and David Freese will be back in the lineup, we expect, on Thursday. Liner and caught down at third by Polanco. 5-run lead for St. Louis, and we always know, we saw it yesterday, sometimes you get caught at the plate, other times you don't. And Jose Oquendo, though, is always the common denominator. He's always going to be aggressive.
Yeah, we always ask about the outfield throwing arms, and he says, I don't really care. I'm going to send him home. But with Juan Pierre, you see, fields the ball right now. He's just one step beyond the third base bag. And we all know Juan Pierre is just a great young man, wonderful personality, but he's never had a throwing arm. That was an easy decision for Oquendo.
Story that has developed here with the Cardinals today. They would love to see some clarity in a positive direction on that number 5 spot. And still auditioning for that, Shelby Miller, and you see picture there, Joe Kelly. Shelby, 4 innings, no runs, 1 hit. 1 point, he set down 11 straight, then was lifted from the game, and now it's Joe Kelly. And you can see that Joe is extended in this game to finish it off. We're in the top of the 7th. He'll get Solano, Brantley, and Ruggiano. Shelby Miller was lifted only after 43 pitches. That was it.
Did a great job. He only allowed 1 hit and a walk. Kelly's allowed 2 hits in his 2 innings of work, and he's 2 for 2 as a hitter. Maybe that would be the deciding factor. More offense when he pitches.
Now you're reaching. Here's a 1-0 pitch to Solano. Looks at his strike. I think a real key here for Kelly is just seeing that his command is back, and he seems to have a more fluid delivery towards the plate, too.
More aggressive attitude on the mound, throwing strikes, staying ahead of hitters. "16 games he started. Very important games that the Cardinals, just pulled him out of the minor leagues and didn't have, and then stayed in there. When Garcia came back, stayed in there, and then that's when Lance Lynn went to the bullpen, right? With a little dead arm stage.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Out of play again. Left-hander getting loose for the Marlins in their bullpen. Marlins offense, a year ago, they were shut out 17 times. That was most in the big leagues. They finished up 69-93 in the second straight last place finish for the Fish. One-two pitch. Solano making him work here.
That's Dan Jennings warming up, I believe.
Spoiled again. Look at the right side of the bullpen right now. Really isn't a true long man if you look at the 5 guys that the Cardinals could be taking with them to Arizona. Mott, Boggs, Majica. You've got Trevor Rosenthal. Be such a weapon out of the pen. And kind of a forgotten man has been Fernando Salas, but quietly a very good camp. So if Miller or Kelly does not make the rotation, do you carry that extra righty as a long man, shorten up your bench, or does that Kelly or Miller go down to the minor leagues and work as a starter? I would think the latter.
I would think that Kelly you could possibly put in the bullpen, but Miller, it's definitely, you would send him down and keep him in the rotation, pitch every 5 days, and also a guy that has already been sent to the minor league camp, but Michael Wacha has left such positive impression that we know he'll make his debut this year, barring injury, and maybe sooner than September.
Broken bat by Solano. Of all the guys we've mentioned, these prospects, statistically here in camp, and maybe even away from the game between the white lines, and what you see clubhouse and just how a guy handles himself, the most impressive has been Michael Wacha. First round pick, 19th overall out of Texas A&M from a year ago. Here's a 3-2 pitch.
Shelby Miller had signed a letter of intent to go to Texas A&M and would have been a teammate of Wacha's if he were not drafted and signed by the Cardinals.
I had a chance to watch Michael pitch in a super regional against Florida State. Did one of those games, and he was sensational then. Up the middle, and Solano wins the battle. Good at bat.
I'd rather have a guy hit his way on. Solano, who struck out a couple times against Shelby Miller after long at bat, got a pitch so he could take up the middle.
Rob Brandley, their catcher, grounded out to second, also fly to left. Ruggiano is on deck. The thing we've seen with the World Baseball Classic is that these teams that are still left, they're loving it. They play with flair. May rub some the wrong way in how they approach the game, but you know, Joe Torre and some of the others have said they've had no problem in the way that they celebrate. Good off-speed pitch, had him out in front, 1-2.
About Perez, young catcher, working with a couple pitchers. Look like he's calling a good game, making them use all their pitches.
See if they can't get two here. 1-2 pitch. Broken bat, lifted into right. And a base hit. Breaks his bat, but turns out to be a base hit into right. The first two have reached here in the seventh.
Robinson, Shane, the right fielder, tried to deke Solano, the runner going to second base, trying to make him believe that he could catch that ball in the line.
These are big games for some of these players that are trying to make the team or be a starter, like Justin Ruggiano. Played a good deal of center field in the second half of last year, 320 plate appearances, but you also have Chris Coughlin, former Rookie of the Year, Gorkys Hernandez. He was part of the Gabby Sanchez deal. Coughlin is a left-handed hitter. Hernandez, Ruggiano both hit from this side of the plate. Could see a platoon situation. Mike Redmond said that's not out of the question.
Mike was managed a couple of years in the Toronto Blue Jays organization in the Florida State League.
Big gap left center. Here's a 2-0 pitch. Double play ball. Out at second. Out at first. 4-6-3 on the double play.
Let's watch the second base bag here. As gets that little sinker down here. Good shovel pass to there. Couldn't tell there, but that bag came up. I don't know if it was late slide into it or Hosmer kicked it or something.
Good block by Perez. There's Echeverria. Now Joe Kelly, with an 8th place hitter, has a chance to get out of this jam.
Davey Johnson had that choice, didn't he? 8th place hitter. He elected to pitch to Cosma. And I know you wouldn't have.
4 fingers, Al. Put them on. One pitch. 1-2.
I know this young shortstop's going to be an excellent fielder, but jury's still out on whether he can hit at the major league level.
One and two, the count. Cardinals will have Carpenter, Holiday, Craig due up. Cardinals were concerned prior to the ball game today of rain because of the importance of this game for both Joe Kelly and Shelby Miller. Wanted to see them in live action as they continue to pad their spring training resume for that 5th starter spot. Rain has stayed away. We've had clouds, but no rain.
Kelly trying to put him away.
Outfield is very shallow. Gap in left center. It's another 1-2 pitch. Two balls, 2 strikes.
Perez wants the fastball away.
Ground ball and a base hit. Marlins get on the board. A 5-1 St. Louis lead. RBI number 6 for the Marlins shortstop this spring.
Right, they wanted that pitch down and away. Got a little bit more of the plate. He rolled over on it, but he found a hole to the left side. The fastball in, fastball away. Like Perez really wanted that one. And it's kind of sinking into him, and he was able to pull it through.
Here's Jordan Brown. Pinch hitting for Qualls. We'll see. Looks to be a lefty coming in for the Marlins next inning. Craig holding the runner at first. That's Echevarria. And the 1-0 pitch. 2 balls and no strikes. With a leadoff base hit by Solano. Really may have taken something out of Joe Kelly. Fought in that at bat.
It's had 2 kind of lengthy at bats here, Solano and Echevarria.
Liner out to right at a base hit.
4th hit of the inning.
And here comes Derek Lilliquist. Runners at first and second. Juan Pierre will be the hitter.
Looks like the pitch got a little more of the plate, like Perez wanted it away. Wasn't hit particularly well, but effective.
Well, if this was regular season play, you probably wouldn't see Joe Kelly face Juan Pierre. The reason being, Juan Pierre hit just 190 against lefties a season ago. Cardinals have 2 lefties in Randy Choate this year, and also Mark Zipchinski. Zipchinski threw yesterday. And also St. Louis trying to stretch out Joe Kelly and advance that workload as we get closer towards opening day.
Kelly's 3rd inning of work, and you have to believe they wanted each pitcher, Shelby Miller and Joe Kelly, to go at least 4 innings.
Shelby went 4, and he did it in just 43 pitches.
Needed more time in the bullpen. Worked down there, worked in the bullpen to get his pitch count up. Well, Kelly this inning is allowed 4 hits. He's thrown quite a few pitches.
Juan Pierre, 19th all-time in steals, 591, so you would anticipate 600 plus after this season. Current active leader in stolen bases. Broke in with the Rockies back in 2000. He's been with the Rockies, the Marlins twice, White Sox, Cubs, Dodgers, Phillies. Last year, 130 games for Charlie Manuel's club and hit 307.
Does it surprise you that he's the active leader in steals? Yes and no, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree with you. Not necessarily. What really surprises me, over 2,100 hits.
He can hit. And for a guy that's never had a throwing arm, got a lot of playing time, and, you know, never heard an unkind word ever said about him. Real likable teammate.
2-1, ground ball, right side, base hit. Another run will score. Past the diving Alan Craig. And Pierre picks up the RBI, his 2nd base hit. 4th RBI this spring. Start to get up and get loose now in the Cardinals' pen. And the tying run comes to the plate in Polanco. Think about Juan Pierre. He broke in 2000 when there just weren't many base stealers going. You know, The home run was really what you talked about in the early 2000s, the late 90s.
No, that's why it's yes and no, and now Kelly complicates it by throwing a wild pitch. About Perez before the game, right before Miller warmed up, that Pogue was trying to work with some, Jamie Pogue, the bullpen catcher, working with some drills, try and block balls in the dirt. There's Rosenthal.
Runners at 2nd and 3rd for Placido Polanco. Base hit into center field. 2 runs will score as it scoots under the glove of Taveras, but with the speed of Pierre, that won't matter. And now it's a 5-4 game.
Watch the center fielder, the ball up the middle, and he's going to come in here, anticipate he's going to make another throw and throw somebody out, but just didn't stay down on the ball. You mentioned it with Pierre's speed, probably wasn't going to make a difference, but.
Ooh, Stan trying to give the Marlins a lead.
6 hits this inning off of 6 singles off of Joe Kelly.
Stan is a great fastball hitter. He will chase the occasional curveball, but you're not going to sneak many fastballs by him. 0-1 pitch. High chopper towards short. Kozma flips to second. Time to stretch. Marlins pick up 4. Cards on top by 1. Roger Dean Stadium, the Cards and the Marlins. And StubHub is the place to find the seats you want. Best prices all season long. StubHub to get your tickets today. Cardinals have a 1-run lead. Matt Carpenter facing a lefty for the Marlins as Rosenthal continues to throw for St. Louis in the pen. Dan Jennings, his 7th appearance this spring. Couple of hops to short, and Carpenter is retired. 1 away. Well, we assume that's going to be it for Joe Kelly as Rosenthal continues to throw. Hard-throwing right-hander for St. Louis will pitch the 8th. One of the oddities of Dan Jennings a year ago was that left-handed batters actually hit 76 points higher than righties.
Sometimes you'll see that with left-handed starters have more success against the right-handed batters. Sometimes they just kind of soft tossing.
Holiday twice has hit it to the deep part of the outfield. One time over the wall, but Stanton pulled it back in. A curveball taken just a bit low.
A little slow breaking ball. You kind of give up on it, and then it breaks over the plate.
Matt waves at it and strikes out. One of the few lefties they could choose from in their bullpen potentially, with Mike Dunn leading the way. Scott Main is also out there. Also had a Rule 5 pickup from
they sent him back.
Tampa Bay that they have sent back.
Yeah, Laura.
Second time that Matt Holliday struck out. And here is Alan Craig, who homered back in the fourth. Got the scoring started for St. Louis and hits a grounder towards short. Echeverria makes the play. And we had played 7 here at Roger Dean. 5-4, Cards on top. Rosenthal coming in. Hard throwing Trevor Rosenthal finishing up his warm-up tosses as the Cardinals are holding on to a lead 5-4. And don't forget the Stan the Man harmonica is Friday, April 12th. That giveaway at 7:15. That'll be a celebration of Stan's life that night. We've had a lot of people ask us what the Cardinals may do for opening day, and Bill DeWitt, the Cardinals president, telling me a couple weeks ago they want to have a night completely dedicated to Stan, and it looks like that harmonica night will be one of them. There's also a statue giveaway later in the season. Here's Rosenthal. We know he's in the bullpen. Started out as a trio. Joe Kelly, Shelby Miller, and Trevor Rosenthal going for the 5th spot, and Rosenthal back to the bullpen. This is where he can be so good. Doesn't matter, righty, lefty. Need to throw more than an inning. He's such a weapon for the Cardinals, and we saw that on display last postseason.
It's kind of a juggling act, and one of the things you worry about is retarding the growth of a guy, a young pitcher like Rosenthal. He has a repertoire to 4 pitches to pitch out in the rotation, but
there's a fly ball lifted into right center field. Shane Robinson there and makes the catch. Robinson now in center. Taveras is shifted to right.
And if you take a young pitcher and you put him in the bullpen, he's not going to use all 4 pitches. It's really tough to use more than 2. And we really know that if Rosenthal's out there and his ability to throw 100 miles an hour, if his fastball, if he gets beat with his fastball, everyone's going to say, so what? I mean, you get beat with a secondary pitch, they're going to say, well, there you are. You get beat with something other than your best pitch.
One ball, 1 strike. Rob Bradley, the catcher. Off-speed pitch that time.
Outstanding. Crowd oohing and on, looking for the triple-digit number. That was just 98. Here's a changeup. Threw a good one earlier.
2-2. Out in front again.
Fastball away.
And a 2-2. Chop to the right side. Rosenthal makes the play. 1-2-3 inning for Trevor Rosenthal. Stocky, hard-throwing right-hander. What a weapon out of the pen. It's 5-4 midway through 8. Will lead it off for the Cardinals, leading 5-4. Again, that replica jersey, part of the weekend against Milwaukee. You see it pictured there. Also, bottom left portion of the screen, the alternate jersey presented by Lumiere Place Casino and Hotels. That's April 13th. Cardinals will wear that for the first time on April 13th, and you can take that home as well. Jennings, second inning of work. Popped up by Taveras. Near the left field line, and the catch is made.
Yelich, who's a young player, having a great spring. He's out there in left field. Green's is shortstop. Lucas, the second baseman. Casey Kochman, the first baseman. Redmond is going to make a pitching change now, bring in a right-hander.
And we step aside as well. You're watching spring training action on your home of the Cardinals, Fox Sports Midwest. Right-hander Tom Kohler, who appeared in 8 games last year for Miami, takes over. And strike one on Shane Robinson. You mentioned the left fielder, Al. He's considered, if not the top prospect, then he's number 2 in the Marlins system. That's Christian Yelich.
They got a pitcher that is ranked number 1, Jose Fernandez, but Yelich, and then their number 3, Jake Marisnick, who broke his hand earlier in the spring, was having a tremendous career. But those guys like Double-A, some real big prospects that they picked up.
Here's the 0-2. One on, nobody on. Robinson is 1 for 3. Also an RBI back in the 4th. That totals up to 12. Cardinals with a right-hander throwing in the pen. That's Mitchell Boggs.
Though Rosenthal needed the work, I think Derek Lilliquist and Mike Matheny would have loved to have seen, 4 innings from Joe Kelly, and then maybe 1 inning for, say, Boggs, trying to catch up after only getting an inning and a third in 3 weeks or 2 solid weeks of playing on the U.S. team, the World Baseball Classic.
Statistically, Shelby Miller, the more impressive of the 2 today, and maybe overall.
No question.
4 innings, no runs, a hit.
A leadoff hit in that game, and then a walk in the first inning also, but after that, it was outstanding.
Robinson strikes out. And there's 2 away. Pete Cosmo will be the hitter.
Mentioned this right-hander pitched in 8 games. Had 1 start with the Marlins. Struck out a batter per inning and gave up a hit per inning.
A 1 pitch to Cosma. Popped up to the right side, and that'll find the seats. Cardinals have had some big crowds this past week here at Roger Dean Stadium. Florida State League baseball played here in the summer. Tremendous facility.
Usually in the Florida State League, you don't see a lot of high home run totals. Players are playing in the Major League spring training sites.
Strikeout of Cosma. An impressive inning for the right-hander with 2 Ks. Mitchell Boggs coming on when we come back. this afternoon, it was Alan Craig getting things started with an opposite field home run. He's our Budweiser player of the game. Alan Craig, his second home run this spring. Solo home run, his 8th RBI. Alan Craig, the Budweiser player of the game. And now it's Mitchell Boggs. And we think about these right-handers that are power arms, and we've seen Mitchell in a spot like this where he's been asked to close games out and certainly could do that in the future.
And that's what you come up with, that mentality.
A bunt attempt by Hernandez, and one pitch, one away. Gorky's Hernandez.
If you bunt it right back to the pitcher, you say thank you very much. Get that first out. You're well on your way to closing out this one-run victory.
Just talking with Mitchell today inside the Cardinals clubhouse about how he addresses coming towards the plate. And you'll see his back, and we're almost directly behind home plate. We could see that number 41 clearly. The back of the jersey and how he turns. There's a fly ball into right. And Mitchell's making this too fast because I was going to get into a couple stories, but that's a good problem to have. But he said that there's two reasons that he did it, and it is more pronounced this year than we've seen in the past, but he did that before because it was just twofold. One, he could just pick up the front leg and deliver. So it was a quicker pattern for him towards the plate. And the other, most importantly, was deception. And Ryan Braun at the World Baseball Classic even pulled him aside and said, I love your deception and what you've done in this address that you see right there.
Kuzminov, who a couple years ago was a big prospect for the Padres. He's trying to make this Marlins ball club. He could be the final out. And you just don't see a lot of guys that have a lot of deception. And in my mind, when you don't have deception, you're just really helping the hitter out. He's got a clear view of your release point. So here, it does two things, like you said. Keeps him closed and the deception.
Kozma, long throw. Wow, what a play by Pete Kozma to end the game. That's a heck of a play.
Very nice play and nice way to win a ball game. Shelby Miller was very good. We got good work from Rosenthal, and Boggs closed it out. We got some offense, and that's always good to see.
So the Cardinals hold on 5-4. Mitchell Boggs, a scoreless frame here in the ninth. We're back to wrap it up in a moment.